4 Super Bowl rings. Guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer. Now let's get my hand job into this red Solo Cup.
All right, go ahead.
What do you mean go ahead? You gotta do it.
What are you talking about? You're the one who needs the sperm.
Yeah, but it's gotta be a human hand. It's gotta be skin on skin, otherwise it doesn't work.
Oh, it doesn't? It's just friction.
Look, I've never done this before.
Well, neither have I.
You do it to yourself?
Yeah, but it's different.
You're an adult with a poster of this guy in your fucking room. You're telling me you don't want this?
Yeah, I want it. You know I want it, but I'm nervous, right? What if he doesn't like the way I'm doing it? He deserves the best.
Pull yourself together, for God's sakes. He's gonna love it. Go, go, go.
Sweet God and baby, Jesus.
And that's at rest.
What the hell? Mr. Brady, we just need a moment of your time.
What are you doing here? Who are you?
Get out of my house! Sir, you call a cop!
Wait, Mr. Brady, take your goddamn teddy bear with you!
What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to Tactical Newbie, the channel where a newbie like me gets into all things tactical. With the funny movie introductions out of the way, per usual, like we always do, let's get right into today's video. So today's video, I'm going to be bringing back around the tactical comparison segment of videos. For those of you that are not familiar with the tactical comparison segment of videos, it's essentially where I take a Gucci brand name item, cross-compare it to its budget clone alternative, highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between, highlight price points between the Gucci and the budget alternative, so that way, hopefully, to provide you, the tactical-minded consumer, at least a budget-friendly alternative to an otherwise Gucci brand name item that's generally overpriced for the most part, in order to save yourself a couple dollars across the board, hopefully going the budget-friendly alternative. Now, not every, at least direct tactical comparison is a one-for-one comparison within itself. This specific one, though, is about as close as you can get. It's kind of similar in line to at least the Spiritus Systems GP pouch and the Pharaoh Concepts, I think the one placard that I have, and a couple other items that generally tend to be at least pretty close and accurate when it comes to comparison between the Gucci brand name item and the clone budget-friendly alternative. But with that rambling out of the way, let's highlight the two, at least, products that we'll be comparing today. It will be the Spiritus Systems / I think Liberty Dynamics flashbang pouch. So I think this is kind of like a co-work between Liberty Dynamics and Spiritus Systems. Obviously, Spiritus Systems sells it, and it does have the Spiritus, at least, logo tag down in the corner. But it's probably one of those, cross collabs, with a specific product. But we'll be cross-comparing this to the, at least, AliExpress budget-friendly alternative. I believe Pew Tactical is the manufacturer for this. This is pretty much as close as at least a clone as you can get with this specific product. Obviously, we'll get both of these items down on the table, and you'll actually see how comparatively similar both of these products are, which was actually shockingly impressive, at least impressive across the board. But with all the rambling out of the way, because this was a little bit of a lengthy intro, we will be cross-comparing these two items. We'll get these down on the table. You can see the comparison for yourself, and we'll go from there. But with all the rambling out of the way, I'll see you guys on the other side.
Alrighty guys, and away we go. So first we'll start by taking a look at the Spiritus Systems / Liberty Dynamic flashbang pouch. Retail price is $54.95. We will continue with taking at least a 360-degree look at the actual flashbang pouch before setting it down on the table and then taking a look at the budget-friendly clone alternative from AliExpress. The budget-friendly clone alternative from AliExpress / Pew Tactical, retail price is $21.42. From here, we'll kind of, at least again, same thing as the Spiritus Systems variant, provide a 360-degree look at the actual product before setting that one down on the table as well, and then getting into a more in-depth kind of, at least, review of both products. First of which, starting with the Spiritus Systems pouch, which we'll do to after we see the cross comparison of the prices, $54.95 to $21.45. Kind of skipped a little bit ahead there. Now from here, we'll get an overhead view and then move on over to the Spiritus Systems flashbang pouch / Liberty Dynamic flashbang pouch. Reading from the spec sheet coming from Spiritus Systems, it states in its description that the Liberty Dynamic flashbang pouch is a purpose-built storage solution for the Liberty Dynamic flashbang grenade, but with a rectangular profile that is similar in size to many other common items found on the battlefield. This pouch can effectively store a wide variety of other items, 5.56 magazines, certain ATAC devices, small radios, and cell phones all will work with this specific pouch. The internal dimensions are 2-inch wide by 7-inch tall by 1-inch deep. However, the elastic sides on the pouch and the adjustable top allow it to accommodate larger items, such as at least CAGWorks EUD cases that measure at least 3.5 inches wide. The MOLLE backer takes up 2 columns and features a split MOLLE bar on the second row, so it can be configured as a belt pass-through for various belt widths. It has the top flap of the pouch that it can be stowed inside the pouch, so the user can use it to as a kind of an open top storage solution, or install the included shock cord retaining tab that can actually, what it's supposed to do, provide that shock cord, at least downward retaining tab, to keep items in without having to use the flap. This pouch is also a great alternative to the MPRC MK5 if you are using small handsets like the Baofeng UV5R, which or similar sized radios, which is similar in line with kind of the radio I have, or at least the walkie I have. When configured with an open top or shock cord retaining tab, it will accommodate aftermarket antennae and PPT or PTT wiring while maintaining access to the radio's top mounted knob. And that's primarily the main reason why I got this specific pouch, was actually to have it as a kind of a smaller radio pouch for the most part. Specifications: internal height is 6 inches, internal width is 2.5 inches, internal length is 1 inch, MOLLE columns are 2, and MOLLE rows are 5. So that's pretty much a full spec rundown of the Spiritus Systems / Liberty Dynamic flashbang pouch. It's pretty decent pouch, all things considered. Obviously, for the price of $54.95, it is a little bit steep, especially when looking in comparison to the least budget-friendly clone alternative of a $21.42 plus tax, tariffs, and any additional shipping and handling charges. When we get to actually the cross comparison of the two products, we'll be able to see in depth just how similar these products are across the board. This is probably similar in line to some of my other, at least cross comparisons of some of my more accurate clone variants of specific Gucci manufacturing products. Feel free to check any one of my tactical comparison videos to kind of narrow down some of those specifically. Like I have mentioned before, some of the cross comparisons are not fully accurate in quality, but this one by comparison is actually shockingly accurate, all things considered, with overall quality, overall stitching, and just overall, at least, dimensions of the product within itself. Now, actually reviewing the Liberty Dynamic flashbang pouch from AliExpress / Pew Tactical. The downside with AliExpress, it doesn't really give you a full, at least, spec rundown. It does give it the at least item description, at least in size. It says it's 7.5 centimeters at least wide, 17 centimeters long, and then about 3.5 centimeters in width, or at least expansion width, if that makes any sense. But all things considered, the specs are generally pretty much exactly the same, which we'll kind of be able to hammer home a little bit closer when we get both the products comparatively together on the table. Overall quality of the clone alternative is actually pretty top notch, but again, we'll kind of highlight that a little bit more as we get to the cross comparison of the two products directly next to each other. The one thing to obviously highlight is the key difference in price. Obviously, $54 versus $21.42. If you're able to save yourself a couple dollars just to be able to get the more affordable option, especially in this specific instance, this might be the route to go, especially if you're looking for just a smaller pouch to be able to hold your cell phone, or to be able to hold, like I said, a smaller Baofeng, at least walkie-talkie and or radio set, which is specifically in line what I aim to use it for. I will kind of do a fit check of my specific Baofeng radio and my cell phone, so that way you can at least get an accurate size and fit for at least what I'm currently running with. I'm not really 100% sure what style Baofeng radio it is. I did have it at least on the top of my head, but it fits. It's not even really a radio, to be honest. It's a cheap walkie. Most Baofengs are pretty cheap across the board, at least when it comes to most of your PTT or most of your push-to-talk radio systems. I do plan on probably stepping up to something a little bit more nicer, but at least in the interim, to have at least some sort of radio system is somewhat beneficial. Overall quality, though, of the knockoff variant is comparatively very, very similar to the Spiritus Systems variant. They both have laser cut, at least MOLLE tabs and rows on the back face of the actual pouch, which is pretty nice. And again, overall, at least quality and materials, at least to the touch, feel pretty similar. And they even kind of copy the Spiritus Systems tag with the Pew Tactical over in the corner to kind of still give it that kind of official look without necessarily being directly from Spiritus Systems. Now, I don't necessarily know the affiliation between, I guess Liberty Dynamic is an actual grenade or flashbang manufacturer. Me being a tactical newbie, I'm still not super deep into the game, especially when it comes to a lot of these components. At first, I was kind of under the assumption that it was a actual like work with or kind of collab with a different manufacturer, but now in hindsight, actually doing a little bit more of the extensive review in this recording, it seems like it's just more so for a specific make flashbang more than anything, and be able to handle and hold the dimensions. So I might have been at least a little bit mistaken at the beginning of the intro when I stated that it was a collab. It more than likely it's just meant to accommodate a specific model and make flashbang setup, and that's pretty much it. Now, looking at the comparison between the two products, as you can see, at least visually, for the most part, both of them dimensionality-wise is almost exactly the same across the board. As I did kind of highlight a little bit in the beginning, overall stitching across the board seems to be very top-notch. Materials between the two products seem to be comparatively the same, at least for the most part. At least when you're dealing with pouches and specific nylon gear, it's not really reinventing the wheel to be able to reuse some of the same, at least quality materials for a more reduced price, especially considering the fact that a lot of these Gucci, at least these Gucci manufacturers in the tactical space tend to overinflate their prices generally to begin with. So the price for the Spiritus Systems pouch specifically doesn't necessarily always at least correlate to a better use of quality. It generally can be a number of different things for why they are actually increasing the price, most of which being a direct affiliation with the military industrial complex, and they can get away with some of these overinflated prices even though they have a net detriment to the civilian consumer who's trying to save a couple dollars to be able to buy their products. But at the end of the day, you can see, at least comparatively, everything seems to be pretty exact. I don't like to use that word very often when we're dealing with the tactical comparisons, especially between the Gucci and at least the knockoff variant, because there is a lot of instances where you do see at least a significant downgrade in overall use of materials and quality on some of these at least low budget affordable alternatives. Now, with that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that they still won't hold up quality-wise. It just means that generally the aim I always like to apply it to is that if you are in the military or you are in law enforcement, it's probably always better to just go with the Gucci manufacturer. But if you're using a specific pouch for training and more kind of, LARPing, airsoft, or even just dry fire or anything like that, just kind of maybe even set yourself up with a base retrofit of like a shit hits the fan type setup. The at least low budget alternative or the clone alternative, it might be the route for you, especially for the standard day-to-day civilian where they're not really going out in the shit that much. Higher percentage of civilians, at least generally, when they're building out their loadout, they might be training once, twice a month if they're lucky, sometimes more, but generally that's on general metric, probably about the average if they're actually getting out there to train to begin with. So with that specific application in mind, I think it does at least aim perfectly for the civilian trying to, save a couple dollars and not necessarily have to spend $54 for a pouch to hold their cell phone or to hold their cheap Baofeng radio. Especially if they're doing any type of milsim, games or anything like that, where they're actually going to have to be in communication with other team members and stuff like that. This is probably the perfect, at least, instance across the board. But now, just touching on the same thing that I kind of touched on a little bit in the beginning, at least overall quality seems to be fairly comparative across the board. Dimensions across the board are very comparative. Overall application and at least how these pouches are utilized, again, is very similar across the board. It's not really, like I said, a complex pouch to say the least. So, like I said, it's not very difficult to replicate, especially in at least the Chinese, clone knockoff market. Now, from here, I'm just kind of going to give you guys at least a base ballpark of some of the items that obviously this specific pouch can hold. We'll start with the Spiritus systems. Obviously, I'm going to use my cell phone as kind of an example of it being able to hold an average size cell phone without any issues whatsoever. I was able to slide my cell phone in there without any problems, close the front flap, it's in there secure. I'll give it a couple shakes just to verify that it's not going to go anywhere. So in that specific application, if you're looking for a decent cell phone holder or something like that, like I said, if you're just kind of out patrolling or doing anything like that, obviously this pouch would be perfect for that. Now the retention is fairly tight, which is kind of a good thing. So you do kind of have to give, at least for my specific dimensions, my specific phone, give it a decent yank in order to get the cell phone back out. I preferably like that better than to have a little bit more give in the pouch within itself, just because I don't want my cell phone kind of, bouncing around or anything like that. If I'm going to slide it into the specific pouch, I want it to at least be secure and held into place without any issues. Now we're going to at least do a trial run with the Clone alternative. As you can tell, because the dimensions are pretty much almost exact comparatively, it's able to hold the Clone alternative is able to hold my cell phone without any issues whatsoever. Again, I will give it kind of a decent at least shake to just verify that the pouch can hold the cell phone, pretty decently. Overhead flap, same thing, flap it down, keeps the cell phone nice and contained. I do screen side towards the back of the pouch, so that way I don't have to worry about anything chipping the screen or anything like that, which is pretty nice. But again, this one has a little bit, not as much tight retention, but it's very minimal between the two. Especially comparatively. Both of these products are pretty much brand new, so take that into consideration too. Neither one of these has really gotten a lot of applicable use as of yet, other than kind of a little bit of what I'm doing here in the trial run at this current point. So obviously with running with these over a prolonged period of time, some of the, at least elasticity of some of the elastic components might loosen up over a period of time. I'd be interested at least to find out how they loosen up and how significant the loosening up is of these specific products over a period of time will be. Now, doing another trial test run with my Baofeng at least radio / walkie-talkie. This was the at least main purpose of why I actually wanted to purchase this specific pouch, was to have it for just a decent radio, at least small radio pouch, so that way I can handle, at least be able to adjust any of my dials, have my PTT tied in to that specific radio for push to talk or for my headgear or anything like that. And it'll be kind of, at least the idea was to kind of be installed at least on the front of my Agilite K19, and the brown one was going to be thrown onto my Tacticon Armament Battle Vest Elite, kind of on the front side, to be able to accommodate at least that radio and to be able to adjust the dials accordingly, volume dials and channel dials correspondingly. But as a kind of hitting near the home stretch, we will obviously show at least how the Baofeng radio fits in the Clone alternative. As you can tell, very comparative across the board. We'll give that a little bit of a shake as well, just to verify whether or not the radio comes loose, which it does not. So it is in there very securely, even though the dimensions of the radio are a little bit smaller than the pouch within itself. So you do have a little bit of play with that overhead tab to be able to lock specific items in, depending on what you're sticking in there, whether it be a cell phone, whether it be a smaller radio, whether it be any number of different components. You at least have the availability to basically slide a wide variety of different things in there and have it contained very well. But with all that being said, that's pretty much it with the tactical comparison.
Alrighty guys, I hope you liked the video. Of course, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let me know what you think of today's tactical comparison video, a part of the tactical comparison segment of videos that I do feature on the channel. Just want to highlight the same stuff that I normally highlight at the end of every video. I do have a Twitter/X. Feel free to hit the link down in the description down below if you want to follow me there. I also do have a Patreon. Feel free to hit the link down in the description down below as well. If you want to contribute any sort of patronage to the Tactical Newbie channel via Patreon, any type of monetary contribution across the board is obviously very, very much appreciated, especially with the fact that everything that I do feature on the Tactical Newbie channel, all the products, and everything across the board is 100% self-funded by myself and my real-time job. So I am not given any products by any product sponsors or any manufacturers to review, highlight, or anything like that in between. I am not given any products for free or anything of that nature. The second that I am at least given a product by a specific manufacturer across the board, I will highlight that to you, the viewer, so that way you're aware there could be a comparative bias. But for the most part, being a small channel, I don't see that happening anytime, at least down the line, anytime soon. So for the most part, everything is 100% self-funded by myself. I buy these things so that way you can save money across the board. But with all the rambling out of the way, I will see you guys next week.